goosebumps every time, yeah, 713. To the 281, yeah, I'm riding. Why they on me? I'm flying, sipping low-key. I'm sipping low-key and honest, flying rider. I get those goosebumps every time you come around, yeah. You ease my mind, you make everything feel fine. Worry about those comments, I'm way too numb, yeah. It's way too dumb, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time. I need the high, throw that to the side, yo. I get those goosebumps every time, yeah. When you're not around me, throw that to the side, yo. I get those goosebumps every time.
Up the mods. Yes, sir.
Tune, Black White Army.
Hey, love it. We're back. Welcome to Loaded Mag NUFC, the full loaded transfer show. Should we say the Mango Special? That's kind of how
we can call it the Mango Special. We can edit the title as well. Yeah, no hassle.
There we go. Welcome and thanks for joining us on this Sunday evening. Ready to talk all things Newcastle United. Been an interesting few days, I'm not going to lie. And we've got the man here to talk about all the details with regards to a couple of players that have been heavily linked with Newcastle United. So it'll be interesting to find out all that information. But first of all, Daz, how are you on this fine Sunday evening, mate?
All good at me. I'm on holidays officially since Friday, so I'm on holidays now. 2 weeks off. Don't actually get out of the country until this Friday, but it's absolutely miserable here. Weather-wise, lashing rain. Just talking to Antonio off air there. So I don't think it's like that in the UK just yet, but it's on the way. Don't you worry about that. But apart from that, I've been busy, Pete. I've been busy doing that. We released our shop today. We went live with our shop, so now there's loads of loaded gear available. People are asking about mugs before, and look at hats, even Adidas hats. They're real Adidas hats and everything. So go check that out. The link is in the description if you want. Up to yourself. But all good. How are you, Pete? No Chris, of course. How are you?
Yeah. Chris is too busy hiding Alan Shearer figures in his garden somewhere. But in all seriousness, there, all good. Can't complain. Good, nice, kind of chilled Sunday. Just kind of taking in or like all the sort of news from the days previous, really, because it was a little bit of a whirlwind. So, it'll be interesting to get into it tonight. But of course, we've got to give just a quick shout out to all of our tuners in the house, and there's a few of them. So thank you all for joining in. We've got the likes of Ian in the house. Hope you are well. Bill as well. Bill back again. Seeing his one in the previous show. Jordy Tune for Life. Hope you are well. We've got Jimmy Watt. Great to have you in the chat. We've got Linton. Welcome, Linton. Don't know if I've seen Linton with this tune before, so welcome, Linton. We've got Deutschman. Great to have you with us. N9NE and William Smith as well. Great to have you both with us. We are definitely good tonight. N9, that is for sure. Anthony Allen. We've got David Cook. We've got the Balkan Mags. Lesonator, like that one. Lesonator. And John Norton. Great to have you in there. Tune, Zebra.
Zebra. That's a blast from the past. Hey, we've got a zebra on a t-shirt or something.
Yeah, one that I thought we'd never hear again. And it's
never say never, Pete.
No, definitely. But no, big up to everyone with their tunes in the house. Great to have you with us. And do it now, because we'll mark them for later. Get your questions in for our guest. And look, as we said just a second ago, we've got some new news on potential couple of incomings for Newcastle United, and we're going to get the man to break it down about these particular players. And he's here in the green room. Let's bring him in. Antonio Mango back again on Loaded Mag NUFC.
Welcome back, Antonio.
Gentlemen, you're all right? Thanks for having us back. It's an honor to be here.
You must have with us. Right?
You must feel part of the furniture now. This has been like
I do. I'm getting more comfortable now.
Yeah. Second time this summer.
I remember the first time.
Just need
I
one of
remember
those
the first time,
t-shirts. You know
Antonio.
what I mean?
Yeah. The first time, Antonio, you were there with a bucket load of notes, and you're going, "Oh, I don't know if I have all my information."
I know.
You're swapping between screens and everything. You're flying it now.
But now it's all up in here now.
Yeah, there you go. And that was a funny thing. You were like, "Oh, I don't know if I've got all my information." You had enough information for a 5 hour show. And we know, and I know in particular, you don't want to do a 5 hour show. I was very, very close to it many moons ago. But Antonio, it's an absolute pleasure to welcome you back on the channel to talk all things Newcastle United. And look, there'll definitely be some questions for you in the chat that we'll get to as the show kicks on. But I'll give it a run through, because should we start with the main talking point, Daz, or will we kind of like ease our way in? How do you want to work this one tonight? Because I'm easy. I'm not going to lie. I'm quite happy to go in either direction.
Then Antonio pick. I don't mind.
Oh, okay. So where do you want to start, Antonio, with regards to this? Do you want to start about the big news that broke on Friday, the news that broke on Thursday? Where do
Let's go with the Thursday, because I come first.
Okay. Yeah. Absolutely fine. So let's do it then, because actually it's a really good starting point, to be fair, because there was lots, and we didn't keep them on the system just for space related, but we know that William Osula, the deal was effectively agreed on Thursday or Friday morning with regards to his transfer to Newcastle United. Personal terms weren't agreed at that point, and that's where there's a little bit of an update. So over the weekend, George Colkin of The Athletic wrote a piece saying that we had agreed a deal with Sheffield United, and that it was now expected that he would be travelling to the northeast to finalise his personal terms, have his medicals, all the rest of that. Now, unless someone in the chat, either one of you, Daz or Antonio, can tell me different, there hasn't been an update with regards to that. No. So in my opinion, that's kind of where we're at right now from the piece that George Colkin wrote around William Osula. Great piece. If you haven't seen it, definitely give it a read. So we asked the question on the show Thursday to a couple of Sheffield United fans about William Osula, what they thought of him from a fan perspective. But we're going to ask you the question, Antonio, because you are a talent spotter, should we say, of young talent. What do you make of William Osula and his potential at Newcastle United? And overall, do you think it's a good deal for Newcastle?
Put it this way. If you were to build a striker, you would almost build him like Osula. So you'd want him big, he's 6'4". You'd want him athletic, he's athletic. You'd want him quick, he's strong. His attributes, profile-wise, he fits the bill, ticks every box. And that's ideally when you first look at a player, that's what you want. So in terms of profile-wise, he's got the profile to play at the highest level. Now, obviously, you need the attributes to complement that, and you need the attitude to complement that.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of people saying that, he didn't score for Sheffield United. But I tell you something, if you put any youngster for their first Premier League outing in a team like Sheffield United last season, I bet you the majority of them wouldn't score. Maybe one of them would score. Do you know what I mean? So I don't think you can really look at it as in terms of he's not really scoring, because if you actually look at these performances, they were quite impressive. He was strong, he was physical, he held up well. That's one of his weaknesses, but he tried to hold the ball up well. He's good on the dribble. He's got pace. He can score with both feet. He's got all the attributes you want in a footballer. So the potential is there to see. Does he need a bit of coaching, a bit of refinement? Absolutely. But in terms of profile-wise, £10 million could be a potential steal for this sort of player. And I remember when we first signed Alexander Isak, and people were looking at his last season at Real Sociedad, and he only scored 6 goals. And people were saying, he's a busted flush. He's not going to cut it. And he proved everybody wrong. I'm not saying he's going to be Alexander Isak. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is just give the boy a chance. Do you know what I mean? Just give him a chance. You never know what he can do because he's got the attributes to do it. Now, I remember watching him in a game when he first started for Derby. I watched him and he scored a brace in the opening like 20 minutes. And I thought, who's this lad? So he can do it, but he just needs a bit of coaching, bit of refinement. And he does have the potential to play at the highest level. Absolutely.
Interesting. And Daz, I want there's a second part that I want to come back to with Antonio, but just for now with yourself, Daz. Obviously, William Osula looks like he's coming in. Massive thanks to everyone in the comments there. I think they after the show on Thursday left some really positive comments that we were quite balanced on William Osula potentially coming in. There was lots of negativity on social media, Daz. Like, how have you found the kind of noise around William Osula since? Have you had a chance to kind of have a look at him a little bit more? I know I sent one clip, I think, in the chat. Have you been able to have a bit of a look at him even more so? And if so, what do you think? You're even more excited than we were previously?
I did see that clip that you sent on, where he does get a nice goal, a great finish. He got lucky with the kind of ball comes off of the defender's hand, made him a bit of space for him, and because you get to readjust, and then it scores that goal. Was that a pre-season goal? Yeah. So it's really recent. So So look, I stick to what we said the other night. I'm excited to see what he can do. It's a calculated gamble, and with it being a Mitchell and how his first signing, they see something in him. So who's anyone else to judge otherwise? Yeah, social media is crazy. Even our chat, actually, the last night there was mixed opinions in the chat, but give him a chance. Give him a chance to see what he can do. Coming in as second/third striker, and it's not a bad fee for a backup striker, let's say, and as we're going to get on to talk about, we're going to spend big on either the right centre back position or the right winger, or both. We'll see how that plays out. We need to budget our budget, but still happy with him.
What I would like to do is give a balanced argument. I want to just quickly touch upon what to expect from him, and then what he can improve on, because it's all good as saying he's got the attributes to do it, but you need to be balanced because he's a young lad and he is incredibly raw. And I think with Sheffield United, you've seen it. He was very, very isolated when he got the ball, and I think that made him look worse than what he was. At Newcastle, he's going to get a lot more players around him, bodies around him, and he's going to be playing in a lot more dominant structure, which will improve him. But you're going to get somebody that loves to run the channels. He fights for every ball. He's very, very good on the dribble, especially in space. When he's got space, he doesn't need trickery. He's got this, I call it the Mbappe move, where he just push the ball and bursts away. He's got that about him. He's got that explosiveness, which is great, and it's brilliant inside the box because it finds a yard of space. Where he does need refinement is his first touch and his hold-up play. He's good at using his body, but it's like he concentrates more on the defender, and it puts him off his first touch, and his first touch can be wayward, and his link-up play isn't really good either. He needs to make better decisions and bringing others into play. So there are areas that he can improve on, and inside the box he needs to be more composed. He snatches at chances, tries to get the shot off too early, too powerful, when he can just be a little bit more delicate and a bit more accurate with his shooting, and he's going to finish a lot more chances.
And I think that's fair, and I think that's really important to have that kind of feedback on. It is because the one thing we need to realize is he's not going to be the finished article. Exactly what you've just said, Antonio. He's 20 years old. He hasn't had that much exposure to first team football. So, we are going to have to be a little bit patient with him. And it kind of brings me to the next question, because I was going to kind of add this on as an additional for you, Daz, but I'll ask it to both of you. There were a few murmurings about Osula potentially being brought in and then being put out on loan. Now, obviously, initially it was talked about being a third choice. Do you think going out on loan is the best thing? And I'll pitch this two ways. Is Osula going potentially out on loan the best thing for Newcastle? And is it the best thing for Osula? And there's kind of a reason why I'm saying this from a conversation that we had on Thursday. So, Daz, I'll let you tackle that one first.
Yeah. So for Newcastle's point of view, he has to stay because we're like an injury away to Isak for and have no striker, no dedicated striker, let's say, that's fully fit. Not counting Gordon in that mix, but so for Newcastle, he has to stay. For his development, he's going to be waiting for his chance. He's coming in late. He's not coming in the start of preseason. So he's got to adjust. They get up to the Eddie Howe level of fitness, which is going to take a while, and then get used to his style of play and so on and so forth. So it's going to take him a while there. Probably for him, getting game time, it probably would be better to go out and loan. But for us, it's to stay. I got to listen to Keith Downey as well. That's what he indicated as well, that he's not going on loan. He's going to be there to when he's up to speed, come on and see out games. Take the last 20 minutes off Isak, or if he's up to speed, then maybe get a 45 minutes in a game or something like that. So to get him some game time. But that's if Wilson doesn't come back too soon.
Antonio, just on in addition to what kind of Daz has said, obviously, do you think most people think going out on loan, getting that regular football is the kind of always the way to go? But for someone of his ability, you've kind of described what his skill set is at this moment in time. Being in and around on the training ground with the likes of Isak and Wilson and players of that ilk, could you almost argue that having exposure to that day in, day out on the training ground is almost better than going on loan? What do you think? By me asking you that, what do you think? Would you agree, disagree?
I think it depends where the player's at the moment. So, for example, Man City decided not to loan out Phil Foden, which personally I think was the right choice because of who he was playing with. Now, we don't have the quality of a Man City. We've got very, very good players, but we don't have that elite, like top level. So for me personally, in a team like Newcastle and where Osula is at the minute, I was excited about seeing him in the Championship because I think if he had stayed at Sheffield United, he would have been at a lot. Sheffield United would have been a bigger fish in a smaller pond in the Championship. They might not have come up, but they would have been dominating games, creating a lot of chances for him, and it would have just built up his confidence. Whereas a player like Phil Foden, it was better for him to stay because he was already levels above everybody else his age. Whereas Osula's not levels above everyone else his age, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think for Osula, it's best to go out, get senior football, build that confidence, understand the game a bit better. Whereas for a Phil Foden, because he was top when he was like the boy at his age, it was better for him to stay alone. So I think when you're looking at that, it depends on where the footballer is at currently in his personal development, but also who he's training with as well. So for Osula, I would say definitely, for me personally, and I understand why Newcastle are keeping him, but I think he needs to be playing minutes.
Yeah. No,
the other, sorry, Pete. The other thing is, if he gets sent out to the likes of Feyenoord, you can look at it that he's just going to be an asset. We're trying to flog again for an inflated fee like Minta, but I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think it's going to happen because I don't know. I think Eddie Howe likes his boy because he's got the attributes that Eddie Howe likes. So I think he's a type of player that Eddie Howe likes to work with. So I really can see Eddie Howe's philosophy in his game.
It's an interesting one. It is. I think what Naz mentioned is really important. We need him. We need if we and it's looking like that we're going into the season with Callum Wilson as still a Newcastle United player. And if you're having it there, and we said it right before the window kicked off, if you're going to keep Callum Wilson, you need a third striker. Now, if William Osula is coming in and going to be that guy, he needs to stay at Newcastle United. There's no point signing him to loan him off, and then we'd be back to square one with both Callum Wilson and Isaac as your choices. You only have to see what happened on Saturday in the final friendly in Japan, where he goes down on his shoulder and everyone almost gasped and was like not again, don't do this kind of thing. and we could have been very, very quickly down to no strikers going into the start. And this is why it's so important. But it's an interesting one. And like I say, it's always good to get that kind of balanced perspective, because you've mentioned that ideally a loan would be good for him. But, as Daz has mentioned, we do need to keep him at Newcastle United if we're going to have the two strikers going into the season that we are. So, look, this is where we're at. He's a real good bit of kind of detail about his skill set, his ability. My additional question for you, Antonio, is that from various different clips that we've seen of him, we've seen him play right down the middle. We've seen him play cutting in on the left. There's one goal, when you said about Mbappe in his style, there's one goal where he comes in, he receives the ball on the left. It's the double step over onto his left, bang, straight into the far corner. It's classic Mbappe.
It's a beauty, isn't it?
It's a great goal. And you look at him, you've got the Isaac-esque finish that that we see in the clip for. You've got such an array of different finishes where we're effectively buying him as that third choice striker. Is that his best position, or is he better on the left, right? Where do you see it from what you've watched?
It's hard to say, because with his age and attributes, you can mold him into a player of your liking. So he's capable of playing both, but personally, I like his runs into the channel. I think he really stretches the game. And I think, for me personally, I like him better as a striker for that reason. I just like the way I really rate his movement. And I think that's key when you're looking against deep blocks, lower blocks, or even a higher line, just timing that run. If he can get a master at timing that run, his vision on his running is really, really impressive. So I think that's personally why I would prefer him as a striker.
And boy, do we need a striker, Daz. So that's a great news for us. That's for sure. Just seen a comment in the chat saying about the loaded merch. We have got the loaded merch on, myself and Daz. Lots of it in the store. It is live. If you're interested in anything loaded mag related, we've got various different merch available for you. Go and have a gander, go and have a look, see what's interested, and join us. And if you do, send us a pic. Let us know that you've got your merch, loaded merch in there, and we'll put it on. But I think there's more to come with that as a discussion, so we'll hold that for a second with regards to loaded merch. Or do you want to talk about it now?
Well, it was a great idea you had, Pete. Let's give people a chance. Let's go right until the end of the transfer window, right? So anyone that does buy something, we'll put you in a draw to win something, to win a prize as well from the loaded merch range. So how about that? So if you do buy something, you go into a draw.
Yeah, double
extra incentive.
Yeah, double winnings. You buy loaded merch and you get into a draw to potentially win something else. So yeah, that's coming your way for everyone. Loaded mag. I have to see this comment here, Dad. I'm going to steal the chat just for a second because we've got Ben in the house. It's 2:45 where he is. He's happy to be watching, but he probably should be asleep. That is dedication. And Claire G, one of our other spanners that's in the house, said dedication, Ben. with her comment on the back of that. That is, we are so lucky to have so many Loaded Mag fans, like supporters of the channel, our Loaded Ultras as well, that follow us from all around the planet, all around the world, and we are very,
That
very
is amazing, actually. It's really impressive.
And absolutely, and yeah, we appreciate every single one.
Yeah, so
that
that would mean Ben is somewhere like in India or China or
What time's
Russia,
it in
somewhere,
Australia?
somewhere around that time zone. Australia, they're 8 hours ahead, or 10 if you're looking on the East Coast.
Wow,
That's
well,
impressive.
we are very lucky. We have lots of people following us on the channel. That is for sure. Now, what I will say is that we thought, right, we've finally got our player coming in. William Osula is on his way to Newcastle United. Little did we know, or did we? I don't know about that one, but news broke on Friday. I think he must be the go-to guy now. Everyone seems to think that Fab Romano is kind of like second, and this guy is the oracle of all transfer news. And it was
Sean. Is it Sean?
You said it. David Ornstein reported
close.
Close. That Newcastle United have opened negotiations with Crystal Palace to sign Marc Guehi, and gives a little bit of detail on the back of that. Newcastle are the first ones to hold talks. Now, Luke Edwards earlier on in the week had murmured that there wasn't a potential out of the blue signing. He seems to think that could be it. That was the one that maybe that's happened. He has obviously done his digging and found out that Newcastle had started talks. Now, this has kind of rumbled on over the course of the weekend. You've got other people now, Daily Mail, reporting that we're in direct talks and that Paul Mitchell's handling negotiations. That could be interesting, boys. That could be really interesting. Paul Mitchell directly involved in this, and I'll talk maybe a little bit more about that later on. Today, was an exclusive from Football Insider. Crystal Palace have responded to Newcastle's move for Marc Guehi. They've kind of set the price that they would want. Lots of rumours of different prices, but most are roughly going around the sort of 60 million mark as a rough sort of price. Scott Wilson, friend of the channel, reports on the timetable for this deal to happen. He talks about the fact that Newcastle United want to make progress on this because this morning Liverpool's name got thrown into the mix by Alan Nixon of The Sun. So that got touched on as well. We've touched on it as a three before we went live about Liverpool's potential interest on this. Now, this is where it might, hopefully, because people have asked the question on this, might well kick us into gear for the next couple of days, because another friend on the channel, Jack Talbot, put a piece out today saying that Crystal Palace have already kind of looked at a potential alternative, looking at Maxence Lacroix, if I'm pronouncing that right. If I'm not, I apologize. But again, another player that we know on Loaded Mag NUFC, we talked about as a player Newcastle had monitored as a replacement for Marc Guehi. So, boys, Daz, I'll start with you. I want to get your thoughts on this. Marc Guehi to Newcastle United. What are your thoughts about this potential deal?
Okay. Well, first of all, I am going to give credit to Sean, because Sean through the Goosebumps grapevine and the Irish Mags as well. Sean tipped us off on this one. Now you wonder whether it could come together, but no, he was the first one that brought it to our attention, at least. So that's what we were kind of talking about off air. You might remember I asked the question to Graham Bailey on the show. Pete was sniggering at the time, but I just to see that he had to test the water. He heard that he hadn't heard anything at that stage, and also we did talk about it in our last show as well. I think it was Thursday, and Geordie 2 for Life was on that one as well. I think Chris must have been chatting off air to Geordie 2 for Life. They have a good that bond going there. But yeah, so but yeah, on the player itself, Marc Guehi. Yes, he's absolutely unreal. What a signing he would be for us. He would cement that position there for the next 10 years, or maybe not 10 years, but a solid fixture in our 11. And you couldn't get much better bringing him in. But the stumbling fee, the stumbling block was going to be the price. We said on our last show, we were saying we'd go 50, and now it's talked about 65. And I know some Palace fans, 80, was talking about 70, 80 in their videos when I checked them out. But it is a massive fee. And then you would wonder, if we were to pay that much for our centre back, does that mean we're going low balling on our right winger? Whereas I would have rather just go high on a right winger and get a cheaper alternative in right centre back. Then there's that question as well: is this gamesmanship? The smoke screens people had in the chat earlier, the Thiaw versus Guehi battle, or let someone else swoop in? Because in that money as well, you're talking about Osman Diomande from Sporting Lisbon. He comes into that kind of frame as well, and that kind of money. But I don't know, if we get him, I'd be absolutely delighted because it's a mainstay in our squad for the next number of years. But I think it's going to be some battle to get him. And the talk as well as we pay a certain fee, and there's an awful lot of add-ons. Crystal Palace going to do that. Watch this space, but we need to do something soon. We need to start getting some of these signings over the line, because we are running out of time, big time.
Yeah, definitely. Antonio, I'm going to come to you in a second to get your thoughts on the Marc Guehi potential transfer and just about him as a player. But I'm just going to give my thoughts just quickly on this situation. There's no kind of escaping the fact that I'd mentioned in the show at the end of last week that when we got asked the question, actually, I think it might have been on the Thursday, that if we were to get someone like Marc Guehi, it would be a statement signing. Now, I believe that is the case. If we sign Marc Guehi, that is Newcastle United making a statement on this summer. As someone's mentioned, someone mentioned in the chat, he was literally one of the, if not the, you could argue it, the best player for England in the tournament for the Euros. He was absolutely brilliant in every game that he played. And to have someone of that capability that made the final, played every minute that he possibly could, other than suspension, to bring that type of quality to Newcastle United, guys, this is what we were dreaming about. When this takeover happened, this was the type of signing where we go in and we pay a little bit of money, but getting out absolute quality that's going to absolutely just raise the level of this team. And I'm not talking squad, I'm talking first team. He starts for Newcastle United. If we sign him in the next week or so, I don't care how much preseason he has, that boy starts against Southampton at St. James's Park. That's how good he is. You cannot not start him. He's a quality player. And for me, I just think it'll be absolutely huge. And there's maybe another kind of conversation we can expand on there, but I'll save it for a second because I want to get Antonio's thoughts. Firstly, what do you make of that potential transfer? And just in your opinions, from your observations, what do you make of Marc Guehi, and what could it potentially give to Newcastle United?
I love this signing. I think he's proved he can do it in the Premier League, so he doesn't need any settling. I think the best thing about Marc Guehi, my favourite thing, isn't even his ability on the pitch, it's his attitude. I think attitude goes a long way in a game, in a football pitch, and I think he just carries himself extremely well. And I think it's very suited to us, and I think us fans would love him. And that's without even talking about his performances on the pitch. I think he's a top defender. It's a game changer for us. That's the easiest way of putting it. Now, I agree with you. I think he starts for us and he goes straight into that lineup because he's good on the ball. He's good off the ball. He's physical. He's got the lot. He's a well-rounded defender. He's got an amazing toolkit. He intercepts, tackles well. He's very, very well-rounded.
Go on, Daz. Sorry.
No, I just he's some passer as well. I was watching a clip there earlier. He's some man to pick out a ball as well, as is Shar, as we know, breakthrough and he's exquisite passing. But yeah, it would be. I'd be amazed if we paid that amount of money though for him. That like 65 plus figure. It's crazy.
Well, it's interesting because there's been a lot of conflicting reports. There's been some reports that it could be anywhere from 50 million. So there's been reports of 55 with add-ons. There's been reports of 65 with add-ons. There's been reports of 70 to 75 million. So we don't actually know the fee. And how many times do you see, whether it's Newcastle or another club's transfer, where they go, oh, it's this price or this price, and the journalists are literally fighting over each other to get the price right, and it comes out and it's something completely different. I tell you what, Michael Elise, everyone said it was 60 million buyout clause, all the rest of it, 60 million. Every journalist said it. When the deal actually gets done, 45 million. Like it's all down to interpretation and what people are trying to get out of this. Now, a lot of what people are saying are quite close to Crystal Palace perspective, are saying 60 million, 70 million, 75 million. Of course they are, because they're going to want as big a fee as they possibly can for him. Like if anyone that watches our away days previews, we get channels of different clubs, and everyone will know D really well. I watched D's channel the other day, reacting to Marc Guehi news, and he was a little bit of a flip flop, and I've told him this with regards to his opinions, and I kind of called him out on it. Because 1 minute he's talking about him, that he's not bothered about him going, but in the next phase he's basically saying that he's the best defender at the club. And that was the bit that I held on to. He's the best defender at the club. So we've got to remember that he's their best defender, and he is. Joachim Andersen is very, very good, but his age profile and everything that he's got about him, he is the best defender at the club. So they're going to want to maximize as much profit as possible to let him go. Or they're going to want to project in the media that they want to maximize as much profit as they possibly can. The question I've got for you boys, and like Daz, I'll come to you first, but Antonio, feel free to chip in on this. And for everyone in the chat as well, there's a lot of people on social media over the last couple of days since this news has come out that has gone, and people have said it in the chat tonight, don't think we're going to get him. Don't think we're going to get him. Costs too much money, not going to get him. Now, my question to you on the back of that is, can Paul Mitchell afford not to see this through? And the reason being is that he's come in with huge pedigree as being the top, and he is for a reason. His first big negotiation deal, can he afford to not see that through? And if he doesn't, how does that reflect on him? Not necessarily with Newcastle United fans, or maybe, but certainly with the media and people outside of the Newcastle bubble. So that's my question. Can he afford to not see this through? Because it's already been reported that he's personally handling these talks. Can he afford, because, and I'm kind of expanding on this, and I apologize, he's in these talks. Liverpool's now coming in. Can he afford to walk away from it and go and get somebody else? Because of how that might make him look. I don't know. What do you think about that?
That's an interesting question. I never even thought of that, to tell you the truth. I think he can to some degree, because if he was to bring in someone else and they turned out to be even better, then he saves face. But now that it's public knowledge, and he doesn't get it over the line, and he goes on to someone else, and that doesn't work out, then you do kind of start to ask questions. We have again, like, he's only in the job a couple of weeks. He's the top of his game though, so it's an interesting one, Pete. I have to. I'm not going to be throwing things out of the pram if he doesn't get it done. There could be other logical reasons behind it, but interesting. And see what Antonio thinks on that one.
Yeah. What do you think about
Yeah,
that?
I kind of agree. I think Crystal Palace could just play hardball and say 65 million up front on often, and then his hands are tied and he's like, that's too much. Do you know what I mean? So sometimes there is reasons behind deals not getting done, but if he doesn't get it done, there's a lot of pressure on his next few transfers, because a lot of people want Marc Guehi because he's a good footballer. And if you bring somebody else in that doesn't hit the ground running like we expect Marc Guehi to, that's going to put pressure on him. So it's an interesting one because a lot of factors come into transfers. It's not just he has the money, there you go. There's a lot of factors that come into it. So even if it doesn't get over the line, it might not necessarily be his fault. So that's not something I would put on him, sort of thing, because there's a lot of things that have got to come into play when it comes to transfers. So you kind of just put transfers not getting over the line down to one person. That would be completely unfair. So for me personally, I wouldn't spit me ties out the pram like Daz. So because there's a lot of things that come into transfers. But like you say, if he doesn't get it done, he needs to get a centre back in. For me personally, I do think he does.
Just one other thing, and I'm going to link to something the Toon Talk is here as well. But he has, I think, 2 years left on his contract, so he's at the peak of his selling price now for Palace. If Palace, if he doesn't go on and sign another contract with them, his value is going to start diminishing from here on out. So this is where they cash in if they want to go down that route. They'll probably know as well whether he would be interested in. He's probably going to want to test himself at a higher level anyway, and he's open to going to Newcastle. And the other thing I was going to say is that I did read as well that what the Toon Talk has said here, that Chelsea have a 20% sell-on clause, so that's going to come into the factor as well in the thinking for Palace. So.
100%.
Yeah, definitely. And
but Palace are known to sell players as well, though, so that's another thing.
Yeah, and that's the thing, that they do sell a lot of their talent and try and make as much profit on them as possible. I mean, I think a few people have put it in the chat. 50 million is probably about the right fee. I agree. I think 50 million is the right sort of price that you would naturally pay for Marc Guehi, and maybe that's why they're saying they want a 65 million all-in transfer fee to kind of get that little bit of extra change out of whoever buys him, because they know they've got that 20% that they want to kind of give on to Chelsea, or they have to give on to Chelsea. So I get that, but the reason why I said it is that I'm not saying that I would give Paul Mitchell stick. I don't think any of us would, certainly on this panel or in this chat. However, people will write stories about the fact that Newcastle weren't able to get it over the line. You know that you'll start hearing stories from all different sections of the media with regards to Paul Mitchell's missed out on his first target, and the negativity will start rumbling there, and it's something that we can maybe avoid if we get this one over the line now, and that's why I'm thinking, is it one that you can afford to kind of lose out on? It's almost like if we were to get this done and get this rubber stamp to make this big statement to get this player in, it's almost the whole of the Premier League and all of the media stand up and go, wow, okay, Newcastle are here, like they're at the table now this summer. Because you could argue that the business that we haven't done, that we've done, it has not been huge. It's been almost bonus deals that we've done. We haven't done the bulk of what we wanted to do. And so what better way of starting this off by getting someone of this level of quality? But losing out could then throw question marks out. Not from us, I have to reiterate that, not from us, but just in general. That's the thing. That
And it would probably come from the people that said signing William Osula is the price is too low, or we should be going aim for something higher, and then Marc Guehi too high. And so the same people would probably be on that one.
Can't win.
But no doubt they'll have a chart of a list of players that they want. So if we don't get Marc Guehi, we'll move on to the next. So no doubt they know what they're doing.
Definitely. So it's an interesting one, Marc Guehi. I'm interested to see how this one progresses. The one thing that I didn't add, and I haven't got it here as a picture, and I'll try and dig it out from somewhere. What I did read over Friday evening, I think I might have read it Saturday morning actually, is that Newcastle are apparently unfazed by the prices that Palace are are suggesting. Which was the interesting part for me. I'll have to dig out and find where I read that, but I remember reading it and remember going, right, okay, that's interesting, because actually, if they're not fazed by the prices that Palace are kind of suggesting, it means that it's going to give us a better chance of getting this deal through. So it may well be, and I'm just thinking out loud here, it may well be that the discussions at this moment of time are more around the structuring of the payments, not necessarily the fee. And that's kind of what I'm hoping, because if we're at the point where we're discussing structures, it means that we're a lot further down the line than what we might believe. And we know, as we talked about it the other day, that with Newcastle United, with particularly their big deals, they're the ones that come when nobody expects it to. I mean, it could drop tonight, tomorrow, Tuesday for all we know. And it will just drop like that with no prior warning, just like the Marc Guehi stuff did on Friday. So, and anything more to add on the Marc Guehi situation, boys?
Just think, for me, I think in terms of what you'll bring, I think he's just going to bring a lot more success rate than what Thiaw does for turnovers, winning the ball back. So if you look at Marc Guehi's statistics for like dual percentages wins, he's got one of the highest in the Premier League. It's like 86% or something. It's insane. So in terms of his calculated decisions when he tackles and things like that, it's just going to be a lot more turnovers for Newcastle United, allow us to attack more efficiently. So I just think it would be a positive move in my opinion.
Okay, so the question I'm going to ask of you on the back of that, Antonio, is we've also been linked with another centre back, heavily linked over the course of this summer, Thiaw. And so they're the two really that we've been linked with. We've been linked with others, but these are the two most heaviest links: Malik Thiaw and Marc Guehi. In your opinion, if you were in Paul Mitchell's shoes and you had the choice to sign one or the other, which one are you going for? I'll put you under the microscope here.
This is tough.
Which one are you going for and why, in your opinion? Now, bear in mind, people in the chat, I'm only giving him a short period of time. He wasn't aware of this question that I'm giving him.
Surprise!
Yeah, he's not got much time to think about it. But who
you know what? I really rate Malik Thiaw. I think if he didn't have an injury hit season, he'd have been starting for Germany at the Euros.
Wow.
I really rate him. True. I think you're going to get a lot more success rate, like I said, with Marc Guehi in terms of turnovers, winning the ball back. The thing that I worry about Marc Guehi, he's not very aerial dominant, whereas Malik Thiaw is. Marc Guehi's more progressive with his pass. I'm trying to weigh out the pros and cons here in my head.
Yeah, that's right.
Marc Guehi's more progressive with his passes, but Malik Thiaw is better at ball carrying, I would say. Oh, it's really tough to answer. But I think because Marc Guehi's done it in the Premier League, he understands the Premier League, you wouldn't need time to settle, so you can come straight into the side. Do I look at it from a business aspect? Because I think Malik Thiaw would be cheaper, and therefore we've got more money to spend on a right winger.
Use the whole reference. Use
You
the whole
decide.
Reference. Yeah.
Pressure's on. I'd probably, and I probably regret saying this actually, but I'd probably go with Malik Thiaw because I think he can work on his tackling and get him to win a lot more duels. Just hinder his, because sometimes he's too ill-disciplined where he just dives into tackles. So if he can just control that a bit better, you'd get a much more solid player. In terms of price-wise, I think we'll get Malik Thiaw for half the price of Marc Guehi, so we'd have more money to spend on a right winger. So I'd probably go Malik Thiaw for that reason.
Interesting. That's same question.
Yeah. So look, I think a lot of people's minds were or it got them thinking. I know when we had Alessandro on, the journalist and AC Milan fan, and put a lot of question marks in people's minds. But not for us though. We were still all on for getting Thiaw. Maybe not at the high end 40 million price that was being talked about. And I think he kind of said 25 million is the max he would suggest anyone spending, but 25-30 million. So, sorry, Antonio?
If we can get him for that, I would definitely sign him for 25 million.
Yeah. So and linking into what Antonio was saying then as well, it's all, for me, it's all about the right winger then. Like, who have they in mind? And we're going to start asking you questions about right winger soon, Antonio. It's one of the questions in the chat. But who do they have in mind for a right winger? Is it a very good player but at a lower price, and then they can afford to actually go there with Marc Guehi, or are they ruling out potential players to balance the books in getting Marc Guehi? So what is the wiggle room they have? So. And linking back to what actually Sean did actually say to us on Tuesday, and both in Irish Mags, 500 people in Irish Mags chat, and directly to you, Pete, and to us, was that that it was between the two of them. So it's still, I don't know. I whoever does rock up, I'm happy with the decision, because we're going to have a quality player or players either way. So I'm glad I don't have to make the decision anyway.
No, you're absolutely right, Daz. And this is the thing: we're in a position where, we're not in a position where we're going, Marc Guehi, statement signing, brilliant. Malik Thiaw is rubbish. Like, we're not saying that at all.
No.
We are getting a quality centre back that's going to literally raise our first choice level of centre back to significantly. Regardless of who we bring in, but it's all depending what you want. And to be fair, it's really interesting in the chat, is because as we were having that discussion, you got some people saying Malik Thiaw, definitely all day. Then you got some people saying England's best centre back, Marc Guehi, all day long. Like you got a real mix of opinions there, which is great. This is what it's all about.
And the other thing, actually, I forgot to say it earlier, was that from the discussion with Alessandro, I think we kind of said that, okay, if Thiaw did come, that he wouldn't go straight into the first team. Shard still be there, and he would be eased into it. Let's say we mightn't see as much of him in the first season as we might like, and it was kind of a building. He get used to playing the Eddie Howe way and what he wants from him in that position, and eroding any of those defensive inefficiencies out of him as well. Whereas if it's Marc Guehi, bang, he's straight in the team. No one else is he's ahead of, he's the first choice in the back line over anyone, even over Botman as well, because he's Premier League quality. He said he's the best player for England, and maybe one of the best players at the Euros. So it's a no-brainer. But interesting few weeks ahead.
It is. Well, hopefully not weeks ahead. Hopefully these deals get done quite quickly because we want to see some players through the door.
I try to cover myself there, Pete, because we've been saying the intricate week ahead and it falls flat. So
no, I understand. There's, just to steal the comment just for 1 second, Daz. Mark Kerrigan put a really interesting comment in here where he says Gordon is a good friend of Marc Guehi, which was interesting. We haven't actually touched on that at all, really. To a point is that obviously Gordon and Trippier have spent the whole summer with Marc Guehi. And we haven't touched on what went round on social media on Friday evening. I think it went in our chat a couple of times. That interview that Marc Guehi did with England whilst he was away, and he was asked which is his best or most favourite stadium to play in, and he actually said St James's Park. So some people said, and I think someone said it in the chat, I can't remember who, and I apologise for I've forgotten the name, had mentioned that could that have been maybe the reason why he mentioned Newcastle, because he was aware before obviously we were of the links to Newcastle United. Like, was he aware during the Euros from his agent that Newcastle were interested in him? Is that why he talked them up? We mentioned something similar on Thursday in a not so negative way around Anthony Gordon, when Anthony Gordon mentioned that Anfield was one of his favourite stadiums aside from Newcastle. So you can see it both ways there with regards to that situation, but it is quite an interesting one. I'm going to bring this comment up just because I think it's something that we just need to sort of address and touch on before we move on. I'm personally not going to mention it too much, but I think it's a valid point to make, and it's from Mandy. And Mandy said, "Guys, love listening to the show as it takes my mind off what's happening in the UK at the moment. So upset with all people just wanting to smash their city up and attack people's cars." Now, I'm not going to go into that too much. We're a football channel. We talk all things Newcastle United. That's what we're predominantly here for. But all I'll say to you, and Daz, Antonio, if you do or don't want to respond to it, that's absolutely fine. The one thing I'll say is that it takes my mind off it too, being here as well. Being here talking about Newcastle United with Daz, Chris, Antonio tonight as well, takes my mind off what else is going on in this country and in the world at this moment in time, because it isn't good. It's as simple as that, and I'm just going to keep it as simple as that. One thing I'll just add on to that, and I know Lisa's in the chat as well, the Trust put out a statement of sort this morning with regards to the Seller Weekender next weekend, particularly on Saturday. So I know there's lots of Newcastle fans who are a little bit concerned, who are maybe taking children, family members to that game. The Trust are asking the right questions. So definitely keep in touch with the Trust and follow them on socials, because there will be updates with regards to that. And we will be obviously seeking answers and responses from the people that obviously make these type of decisions. So just wanted to touch on that from my perspective. I don't know if you boys want to add anything to that, but before we move on. But thank you, Mandy, for your comment.
No, I agree with everything you said there, and what Mandy has in the comment as well. Just disgraceful what's going on really at the moment. I linked to David's comment, who was some concerns over it as well. It's just hopefully that doesn't impact what is going to be a brilliant weekend for Newcastle and anyone going. It's something I remember like about 10 months ago. I considered bringing my family over for that Seller weekend, but now to see that something like that could be impacted in some way, it's just shocking altogether. So
yeah, I echo everything you both said. I think it's shocking, disgusting, and I just pray and hope everyone's safe. You know what I mean? Just stay safe. It's the best way to be. But I want to do one thing, and I don't know if this can be done, just to spread a little bit of positivity. Do you know you've just brought out your merch? I want to buy a mug for. I'll let you pick at random one person that's watching this show, and I'm going to buy them a mug and send them a mug. just to spread a bit of love.
Oh,
So-
Jesus, Antonio. That's very nice
So
thing
you
to do,
pick
Antonio.
someone at random, and I'll send
Oh,
them.
Chris Hall.
Apart from
Yeah,
Chris
I
Hall,
bet he's jumping up and down at that.
How are we going to pick?
I tell you what. Should we put it out as a members draw?
do whatever you do, and I'll
the spinny wheel.
Fine,
I don't know if that's the fairest.
You could ask a
way.
question. You could ask a question, Antonio. The first person in with the right answer in the chat. Let's do it that way.
I'll ask you.
Think of a question.
I'll think of one. It'll come. I'll think of one.
When you do, put it in our private chat, because we've got a private chat that you can type into.
Yeah, we'll do.
Drop it in there, but when you've thought of it. So we'll make sure we do that before the show's out.
Yeah, reminders, because I'll forget as well. Reminders.
Okay. So we've touched on that, and yes, a member for 29 months. Superb stuff.
Well done, Lisa.
But as Lisa says, hit that like button. Let's get those likes up. We've got well over 300 in the chat and have done for pretty much the majority of this show. Thank you for tuning in. Hit those likes. It makes the world of difference to us as a channel. Now, what I will say is that you, Daz, and you, Antonio, touched on, if we are going to spend big money on Marc Guehi, what does that mean for the other priority position, which is the right wing? We all know that's the position that we need to fill. Now, what I will do is just run through very quickly a few updates with potential links to Newcastle United in that position. And there's been a few updates with regards to that. And the first one, of course, some people are sick of it, but some people think that it could well get done. It's not going away, and it's this man, Federico Chiesa. Reports in Italy are saying now that the fee could be as little as 15 million euros. That's what they're saying, because there's interest that's out there at the moment, but not enough to want to put the money down. And I want to ask your questions why that might be. Also reports as well, Caige's agent has returned to Turin after a tour of England without receiving any concrete offers. And that might link here from Core Sport to what's being said just here from the reports that are going out. So Federico Chiesa is still one that's in the conversation. Our name is still linked with them, although not in those two ones that I put on the screen. Graham Bailey, who was on last week, has again linked our name as well as one or two others to Pedro Neto. Now, his name's gone a little bit quiet as recent weeks, but he was heavily linked with us in mid-June, I would say. And we'll still want 60 million to allow him to leave. They are happy for him to stay, or he's happy to stay, but there is interest there from Newcastle United. So just a couple of interesting links there with players that are still of interest of Newcastle United. What do we think? Do we think we're going to spend that sort of money? Can we spend it on a centre-back and a right winger? Where are you at with that? And Daz, I'll come to you first with regards to Federico Chiesa, because it just keeps rumbling on. And my question to you is, why is nobody signing him? Why is that fee seemingly getting lower and lower by the week?
Yeah, it is a strange one. Like, it started at 40, then it started going down and lower and lower. Yeah, and I know Mata. I'm not sure if you showed that clip, but that tweet. But he says a whole list of players that he doesn't want anywhere near the team. So anyone he hasn't brought in preseason or their trip away, they're gone. He wants rid of them. So I think people are also saying that, like, okay, he's only after getting married. He wasn't the greatest at the Euros as well, and he's not the same player he was. Stay clear, but. Yeah, it's hard to tell whether we are in the mix or not there. On the Chiesa one, Neto, then a big massive fee, 60 million for Neto, and the injury prone. If he wasn't injury prone, yes, we'd all be going, yes, bring him in. But it's we don't need another sick note in our squad. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see what Antonio's thoughts on right wing. But let's go to your question on Chiesa first, Pete, to Antonio.
Yeah, definitely. So, look, what are your thoughts on Chiesa anyway, just in general? But then the fact that fee has gone from 30 million down to 25 million, and I'm talking million euros here, now to 20 million, and then as recent reports as low as 15 million. Like, in your opinion, why do you think that's happening for a player that only a few years ago, of course he was injured, but a few years ago was literally talked about as one of the best wingers in European football? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I think a few years ago he was, but I think he has flattered to deceive at Juventus. Whether that be, well, the majority of it's been by injuries, to be fair to him. He's been riddled with injuries. I mean, 2022-23 season, he missed 75 days with injury. Last season, he missed 45 days with injury. And he missed, I was looking at it today, actually, he missed the equivalent of 11 games last season. We can't afford to have that in our squad. With the amount of injuries that we had last season, it would be pointless to bring in another player that's just constantly getting injured. And I don't think profile-wise, he's to Eddie Howe's liking either.
What type of, if you can expand on that, what type of player do you think he is? And I'm being very specific here. Like, what do you think Eddie Howe might not like about him, which makes him maybe not an option for Newcastle United?
I think, firstly, he doesn't really work hard in the defensive area.
Okay.
He makes it look like he's trying, but in reality, he's just not. And it's obvious to see. Secondly, I think he's extremely selfish on the ball. And I don't think Eddie Howe would like that in him. I think that's one thing you would want to coach out of him. He wants to do it all, which isn't a bad thing when you've got the ability.
Yeah.
But I just think he's just not an Eddie Howe type of player at all. That's my personal opinion. I just think he's just extremely selfish. And it is disappointing to see because he's got talent, but just the injuries, man, I don't think he would be a good fit for us at all. I think the money, even if it was 20-25 million, we could get a much better profile, a younger player for that amount of money that would have a higher value as well.
Interesting. There's a couple of other names. I want to get your opinion on who you think could be a good option for Newcastle United. But another name that's been sort of almost doing the rounds, particularly in the last 24 hours with regards to Newcastle United, is the Turkish international Yilmaz. And yeah, there we go. Daz on the money as always. Charlie Bennett is one of a number of journalists that have wrote pieces with regards to this. That apparently Paul Mitchell was in Istanbul last night to watch Barış Alper Yilmaz when I did watch a little bit of the game. They got absolutely hammered by Besiktas. Besiktas looked very, very good, to be fair, in their Super Cup. And looking at,
was Kilroy playing?
Yeah, he did. He did. He came off. But he did okay. I mean, he's a young lad and he needs time to develop. But yeah, he did okay. But he played all right.
That's Shemek Kilchoy, Antonio.
Yeah, we touched on him before. He's a top young Turkish talent striker. Maybe could have been a third option, but who knows? But Yilmaz is another player that's been talked about. Like I say, played at the Euros as well. Who would you say, Antonio, is maybe sort of a right wing option, whether it's a player that's been talked about in the media or not at all. It's such a priority position. We need to make sure we get it right. So, is there anyone out there that kind of, in your mind, you're thinking, yeah, that could be a good fit for Newcastle United?
I think there's two players that I think would work well in our system, and one is a Brazilian called Ryan Vita, who is currently at Vasco Gama. I think he's just turned 18. He is a wonderful footballer. Got the ability. That's the one. He's a left-footed. He's 6'1", so he's quite. He's not your natural winger, but he's got pace, power. Do you know who he reminds us of a lot? Adriano. He's got that physical build. He's got that power. He can also play centrally as well. He's got a good finish on him. He's good with the dribbling. He's a two-way dribbler. He's a wonderful footballer, and I think he works hard in the defensive area as well. And I think that profile would suit not only the Premier League but Eddie Howe's system as well. Because he can act as an inside forward. He can come in off the left, or he can go around the outside. He can go both ways. He's a wonderful technical footballer, and he's got an eye for a goal as well.
Brilliant stuff. Brilliant. No, this is why we love getting you on, Antonio, because there's players out there that lots are not aware of that we go, actually, well, when it starts to link, we go, we talked about that guy.
Yeah. And then we mentioned him 3 years ago.
Yeah, but no, great stuff. Is there anyone else out there for you, Daz, that we haven't talked about yet on the show that you're thinking, you know what? Why are we not going for someone like that? There's so many right wingers out there, but is there anyone that kind of springs to mind for you? Whether it's someone that you've thought about, someone we've talked about previously, someone's put in the chat tonight. Anybody?
Yeah, well, there's one that I at the start of the season or towards the end of the season, I had it in my head. Rooney Barguani, but I know he's injured ACL and he's not back until.
I was going to bring him up. That's a good shout.
Yeah, 2025. He would have been class, but we also have to see how he recovers from that injury. He'll get back to his best. But so if I can't go here, people have been mentioned Morgan Gibbs-White as well. Look at he's someone that we had on our list. I know not natural right winger, but can play in a number of positions. Can play right wing as well. But I'd love to see him in Newcastle again. Lincoln, good friends with Anthony Gordon. Bringing out Anthony Gordon, all of Anthony Gordon's friends. Maybe we'll give him a longer contract as well. Why not? While we're at it, but that's who I'll throw into the mix. But I really want to be surprised when it comes to the right winger position, because some of the players that we have been mentioned with, I have question marks. I think I said this before. I have question marks over like Neto, like Chiesa, like a few more. But yeah, I kind of want to be a bit of a surprise.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you. I'm really stumped at who we're going to go for right wing. We've been linked with so many different right wingers. So whether it's been Somerville, who's now at West Ham, whether it's been Bowen. I mean, Somerville was more of a left winger, but he can play on the right. So he was kind of linked with Newcastle United. But Bowen can play on the right. So he was linked. We've got Neto that we've talked about. We've got Chiesa, who's predominantly left, can also play on the right. We've got Yilmaz as another option. We've got Brian Mbeumo that has been mentioned by a lot more people.
Like him.
There's quite a few more people that are mentioning him more and more, but there hasn't been any solid links in the last 3 weeks. Like, it's gone really quiet, which some may say is a good thing, some may say is a bad thing. No idea. You've also, who else have you got? There was one that's just gone from my mind. I've just gone blank. There are others out there, effectively, but none of them are solid links. And this is where I'm absolutely stumped. It could be anybody. It could absolutely be anybody.
Adeyemi as well from Borussia Dortmund. He's been linked to Juventus, but yeah, is he right wing? He's more left wing, is he not?
I think Borussia want him to stay, so I think he'll stay. But I want to touch upon a few players that I think will have a breakout season this year. Playing in that right wing position. And the first one, he played a lot last season, but it went under the radar, is Roger Fernandez for Braga.
We know him.
We were mentioning to him before, yeah.
Yeah, he's a wonderful talent. What I like about him, he's left-footed, right? But he plays like an old-school winger. He likes to go direct. He's like a straight-line dribbler. That's what I call him. Straight-line dribbler. He can come inside, but it's not his natural game. He likes to get out wide and push past the opponent. Like an old-school winger, but he's left-footed. He's capable on both feet. He's got an eye for goal, but he's a creator more than a goal scorer. So I think you would need that goal scorer type with him. He's a wonderful talent. And there's also a youngster coming through at Sporting, playing on the right wing, and that's Giovanni Coenda. I think he's going to be a top player. He scored last night actually in the Portuguese Super Cup. So he's going to be a one to watch this season. I think he's going to get a lot of minutes in the Sporting side. He's again your inside forward, likes to come in on his left foot. Technically beautiful, two-way dribbler. He's got a wonderful drop of the shoulder, go past players easily. He's balanced well. And there's another player that reminds me. I know this is a big shout. I'm not saying he's going to be as good as him, but he just dribbles like him. And that's Braga Gruda, if I pronounced that correctly. He plays in the German league. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, but he plays as a right winger. He can play attack midfield. He plays for Mainz in the Bundesliga. He was quality last year. Some of the performances, statistics that he put out were unbelievable. And if he can continue that this season, he's going to be a one to watch, because I think he will get linked to clubs next season. He's definitely a one to watch.
We'll just put his details up here, just because I've got them here. Is this the guy that you're referring to?
That's him, yeah.
So right winger, 20 years old, German international. Like you said, he's left-footed. Just the brief stats here. Played 28, started 19. 4 goals, 3 assists. There's a little snapshot.
He's a close control dribbler. He likes to just weave in out players like Iniesta used to do, like Messi does, that sort of type of dribbler. He's a wonderful talent to watch.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do a Chris live right now because I'm just doing a comparison.
This is how he does it, is it?
Yeah, this is
magic.
So I've done a comparison with Miguel Almiron, and obviously the green is Gruda, and there's Miggy. So Gruda, from a creative, attacking, and technical point of view, is way beyond Miggy, but Miggy, obviously, from a tactical and defensive point of view, is better. Obviously, Miggy's work rate and his defensive work is good as a right winger. So, an interesting, very, very different kind of outputs that you're seeing there on those two players. That's just a little snapshot there. Let me put in Murphy. Let me see if we get anything different from Murphy. It's Chris.
Josh.
Chris is no, Jacob, definitely not Josh. Chris is going to hate me because I'm stealing his thunder, but this is Chris's thing. We have to stress that. But yeah, that's maybe a little bit closer. I'm not going to lie.
It's a lot closer. But the defensive areas, that's something you can coach into them. Yeah. So if he's creating a lot more, you can coach him into being that defensive output. I think he's a wonderful talent, very creative, innovative on the ball as well. He disguises his pass as well, got a nice way to pass. He's got all the attributes you want in a final third.
Definitely. That's, you know what, that's a really good output from an attacking point of view.
Especially in a team like Mainz that don't dominate games.
Absolutely.
Can you compare him to the Sporting Lisbon there? What's his name again? The
Roger Coenda. I don't think he'll be. I don't know if he's played enough games to have stats.
To be.
But
no,
right.
No, because I came across him before about 6 months ago.
He does.
He is there. There you go. It's not a solid It's not a
Okay.
solid link. I think it's
He's only played a handful of
yeah.
games.
It's no attributes. No attributes.
You could do the Roger Fernandez. You try that one.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, no attributes.
Well, it's the same.
Yeah. Well, we'll keep an eye on it. We'll keep an eye on it. The more games they play, the more they'll that'll be added to this. But it's an interesting one.
Yeah, that guy from Sporting Lisbon, though, about 6 months ago, I came across a clip of him and I went, wow, he looks unreal. So I started following him on Insta because he just looked amazing. And he, as well as that, Sporting Lisbon, how many great players did they usually bring through when I thought he was going to be the next big thing? Yeah. Interesting.
That one's interesting. The kind of the stats there are very similar for Jacob Murphy in comparison to Miggy. That was just an interesting one. But yeah, I just thought just grab that up whilst we're having that conversation. Interesting how it works. At this point, do you wanna fire some questions at Antonio before we wrap up?
Yeah, let's do that. So first of all, to Ian, it was his birthday at the weekend. So happy 50th birthday, Ian! Yesterday.
Happy birthday, Ian!
Happy birthday, Ian! Nice one. Of course, our Darlington fan is Ian. Yes, great. Lovely to see in the chat as well. 9, everyone standing together, and Santosio as well. Some great comments to the comment from Mandy and follow up. But let me see. Right,
just put something up really quickly.
Yes.
Saint Coral has just said, can you compare Garuda to Pedro Neto? And I've just compared them, and wow, that is very, very interesting. Look at that.
Wow.
There's your next Pedro Neto.
It's almost an identical matchup.
What's his speed like?
He's nippy. I'm not saying he's not an Mbappe type of speed, but he's nippy.
Rapid. Neto
Yeah,
is
Mbappe is just different level, but like he's nippy. He can move. He can dance. But it's his agility.
I like that.
Well, he can dance.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Right, Antonio. Here's a question for you. If you could pick 3 players to dance with, who would they be?
If I could pick one in each position, let's say centre back, centre midfielder, because I think we need a centre midfielder and a right winger. I'd probably right wing at this stage. Probably go Roger Fernandez because I think Eddie Howe likes pace and he likes to utilise that pace. As for a centre midfielder, I'm going to throw one out here because I think he suits Eddie Howe's style because he's really complete in terms of output defensively and offensively. I'm going to go for Matías Fernandes from Sporting Lisbon. He had a wonderful season at Estrella last year. He's went back to Sporting. I think he's going to blow up this season with Sporting. I think he suits Eddie Howe's game as a number 8. Centre back, I'm going to try and pick someone different to Malik Thiaw and Marc Guehi. And I'm going to go for Victor Reis, who's at Palmeiras in Brazil. I think he's a wonderful talent, very composed on the ball. He's tall, lean, but elegant. Reads a game very well. Yeah, that boy. So I would go for him if I was to bring in a centre back because I think he's excellent in the first phase of the build-up. And I think that's our next step as a club. We need to be more bringing out the ball from the back, playing more expansive style of football. And I think he would be perfect for that.
Mm-hmm. Right, next question. There's one from Chris and there's one from Mandy. Guys, do you think Gordon is going to Liverpool as the rumours are not going away? My partner is an Everton fan. It's not Chris, is it? No, it's not. That's Lisa. And he has said that he wants to leave. He will kick up a fuss to get the move. And Chris, linked into that, Chris goes, rumours going around Merseyside that a transfer domino effect could be in effect. Gordon to Liverpool, Gomez to Newcastle, Marc Guehi to Liverpool, Eze to Newcastle. Thoughts, lads? Gordon's
I
going
would
nowhere.
love Eze. I would love
Yes, he's
Eze.
good, yeah.
Yeah, he's a tremendous footballer. I'll let you go first. Do you think?
I'll put this on because I had this for the show before in this. In the Anfield sector, they're always throwing up Fabrizio Romano comments. It's very interesting. Fabrizio Romano never tweets these out as official words. Like it always comes from a podcast or heard from here, there, and everywhere. But what it does say is that and this was from today, it will be pretty difficult to sign Anthony Gordon. However, it would not be a surprise if Liverpool return to negotiations. So that come down, there's a bit of a come down there from. It's a matter. Some people reporting it's a matter of when, not if. It's going to happen, all the rest of it. That's a little bit of a come down from a number of days ago. Now, for me, going back to that question, will Anthony Gordon leave Newcastle United? My answer is no. I'll answer all of these separately. Will Gomez come to Newcastle United? No. And to add to that, I hope not, because that rumor of 45 million, he is not worth 45 million pound. With the amount of injuries he's had and how little football he's played over the last number of years, he is not worth 45 million pound. I won't be paying any more than 20 for him. So that's just my opinion. But I don't see him coming to Newcastle United anyway. Marc Guehi to Liverpool could happen. But as I've said to you boys, and we had this conversation off air before we even went live, when Liverpool have got Virgil van Dijk, they've got Konate, they've got Kwanzaa, another player we're apparently linked to. Okay, there's 3 centre-backs there that are all very, very good. I might even be missing one out off the back of that Gomez. There's your 4th. So therefore, where does he kind of fit in? And, for me, yeah, of course, Liverpool are a huge, huge club. I'm not going to deny that. That is a reality. However, if I'm Marc Guehi and I'm making a step up, I want to be thinking, am I going to be playing week in, week out? I need to maintain this England starting week in, week out playing for England. For me, I think there's a better line to the first team and starting regular for a bit bigger team than Palace at Newcastle United than there is Liverpool. That's not to say he won't want to go to Liverpool. There's probably more of a direct line to a starting berth with us. And I think he seems like the type of character that wants to play football. It's not about him sitting on the bench and earning a crazy amount of money. He's going to earn a lot of money coming to Newcastle United. I think he's going to want to play first team football. And then I can't remember the last one. Was it Eze to Newcastle United? The last one? Sign me up. Sign me up. Hey, do a double deal. 100 million, 110 million for both. Do it.
Yeah, well, Palace can't give away all their shining stars all in one go as well. All one transfer window.
Don't be surprised. Because and that's not even with Newcastle United. Because if we sign Mark, the fact that they're in talks with us about Marc Guehi says that they're willing to sell. They're open to sell. That tells you one thing. But not with put Eze to Newcastle United aside for a second. Eze was heavily linked with Man City not long ago, whilst the Euros was on. If Man City decide actually, yeah, we need someone to come in, and they decide Eze, you think Eze is going to stay around at Palace? With all due respect, he's going to go, nah, I want to go play for the champions. So there's a chance that both of them could go. Elise's already gone. I'm not ruling it out. I'm not ruling it out. Hey up.
No, it's not transfer related news, but I got a little notification on my watch that Khalib Garas has placed an order from the London Max store. So congratulations, Khalib. Nice.
That reminds us, for the mug, I'm just going to buy Mandy it for a nice comment.
Nice one.
Love it.
And Shama suggested that as well. Thanks, Shama, and thanks, Mandy. A great topic to bring up. And yeah, you had everyone agrees with you basically in the chat and on the screen here as well. Nice one. Thanks, Antonio, for the kind gesture as well. Right, let me see where we go for the next question. All right, Toon Talk is one. Will Wilson, Trips, and Miggy stay or go? Who wants to go first there?
Go on, Antonio.
I think Wilson will stay. And the reason I think that is because we need him. Even if we do bring in Osula, I still think we need another striker. And I can't see anyone paying his wages. Potentially, I thought West Ham could have went in for him. But since they're bringing in Fulkrug, I don't know where Wilson's going to go. I don't see him dropping down a level. And if he says no, you can't really sell him. So I don't know in the Premier League where he would go. Because I've been thinking about this, who would sign him? Do you know what I mean? Like, so that's the only reason I think we want to sell him. But I just don't think we can find a buyer for him. Trips, I think he stays. I really do. Yeah, I think he stays. And Miggy, I think it all depends if we can get a right winger in. I think that's all depending on what we do in the market.
Your thoughts, Pete?
I'm going to be super, super quick with this. Wilson stays. Trippier goes, but I would like him to stay. And Miggy goes. So Wilson stays, Trippier goes, Miggy goes. That's what I'm going for.
Okay. I would like Wilson to go, but he's going to stay. I would like Trips to go, and he's going to go. Just because we'll move on. I'll thank each of them for their service, of course. Miggy, I think we're having a bit of bother trying to offload Miggy, but I want Miggy to go as well. But just I think we just need to move on and be a bit ruthless things. But Wilson is staying at this stage. He's going nowhere. And so yeah, let's see. A lot to happen there. Right. Maybe one more question, and then we kind of start wrapping up. But it comes from Foxy. Using your special talents here, Antonio. Foxy is always on the ball. I know we would have to wait a year for him to turn 18, but our long-term right winger, what does Antonio think about Franco Masta? This guy from River Plate?
Yeah, honestly, he's crazy good. And he was one player that I wrote down a list of players that I wanted to mention, and then he asked us to break it down just to 2 players. So I was like, I'm stuck here, but he was one of them because he is, the way he's just transitioned into senior football is different level. You get players that get eased in, or you get players that get thrown in, they just thrive, and he's thriving. And when you're talking about Estebo, Kendry Paez, Gianluca Pastorini, he's on that level. And I think we should be looking at players like this because these are game changers. And these are players that are going to develop into world-class talents. So if we are trying to fill out a youth academy, these are the exact players that we need to be buying. And I think he's a top player, can play right wing, centre attack midfielder. And he's just, do you know when you know someone knows the way around the football pitch and they just know how to make a difference because they're so intelligent? He's one of them players. Breaks through the lines with intelligent passing. He's got a wonderful strike on him. He can win games. He's a man of the big moments. He's a wonderful, wonderful player. And I've got no doubt hopefully it's Newcastle, that he will end up in Europe.
Todd Bowley is on the phone now.
He's a top player. I don't think there's ever been a well-rounded player profile coming out of South America as there ever been. We've had individual talents like when Vinicius Jr. broke through or when Neymar broke through. But at the minute, there's so many talent around South America. It's crazy. They're just producing them like fun. If you look at Palmeiras' under 20 squad at the minute, you can name 7 or 8 players that you would want to bring to your club. And that's just one team. So I think the way forward is scouting in, I would say, Africa and South America, because they're just producing players like crazy at the minute.
Something for the future for sure. Quick one, Lisa. No, there's never going back. Am I right, Pete?
You're right.
And Ben from earlier, Ben, I hope Ben's asleep now, but Ben's in Perth. That's where my brother is as well.
Yeah.
So that's Ben. But in Australia,
Guys, we've got to mention this player before we go. Thank you, Ali B, for this one. We've got to mention Kubo as an option. We've got to mention Kubo as an option, surely. Right winger. Hope Chris as well when he sees this.
Nice one. Let's give a quick shout out to our sponsors as we wrap up. Shout out to the Radiator Shed. Get 20% off when you mention Loaded to Russ at the Radio Shed. You know the details now already. Go check out the website. The link is in the show description as well, along with the Manscaped link as well. And Loaded 20 will get you 20% off at Manscaped as well and across all the range of products. And our link for our merch stores is also in the show description, and it will be going forward as well. That's it for the sponsors. Thanks, Antonio, for coming and joining us, the star of the show tonight, Antonio, and sharing your knowledge with us again once more. We will be back plenty of times this week, I think. We're going to try and get a few shows in this week, so stay tuned on that one. I'll say no more.
Thank you again, guys.
Pleasure. Legend.
Cheers, Antonio.
Right. Just before we go, Antonio, where can people find your work? Because I know your socials are growing and people becoming more and more interested in what you do day in, day out. Where can people find you just before we see out the show?
Yeah, so my Twitter handle was just on the bottom there, so Antonio Mango 4. And also, if you just type in Antonio Mango in YouTube, you'll be able to find me on there. I started about a month ago. I'm trying to hit 2K followers, so. And what I do on YouTube is I just speak about scout reports about the best upcoming one decade. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, when the season kicks off, I will be talking a lot more about Newcastle United as well. So please go and drop us a follow if you can.
Make sure you do that, guys.
Nice, Antonio. And also, Antonio's YouTube channel is hyperlinked in the show description.
Thanks,
so
guys.
just click that, click subscribe, then you won't miss a thing from Antonio. And there's one out today on William Osula as well, so check that out. I have to listen to it myself, as I said to Antonio before the show. But that is it. Lisa has the mangoes in as well. Nice one, Lisa. Right, see you soon. How'd you like
Thank
that?
you very much.
How you like